There you go, guys. Welcome back to the shop. Pretty sweet, huh? At least we got a remote control throttle for a 200T. So had a little bit of time to work on the RC car project. And again, I'll tell you guys this right off the bat. If anybody comes here to think they're going to see the end result of 100 plus hours of work into one of these projects, and you're going to see a 2-minute video showing the end result, show your way out right now if that bothers you. I take people along for the ride. This is going to be multiple videos, and it won't be complete for a long time. Let's just be clear on that. My full-time job is building saws for people. This is extracurricular, so it's fun to mess around with this stuff, but we do it in stages, and that's how it's done. Plus, for YouTube, you can't just do a 1-minute video for a crazy long project. You'd screw yourself. But this is my kid's RC car, and I've heard they're indestructible from how many people, everybody you talk to with these things. Yep, Arma sent like the best car you can get. This one has the brushless motor and all that. It's pretty much everything's been upgraded because everything broke. Within the first 2 hours of actual time using it, it went through 2 motors, ESC, and what the hell else? Just odds and ends broke. So the car breaks all the time. And I thought, you know what? Instead of a nitro car, what about a chainsaw car? Turns out people have already done it, actually. So I want to do one to the most extreme, though. I have a nitro system actually designed for this already. It's going to use disposable cartridges, like the little Ready Whip cartridges. And I got a system for it and everything. I just got to get a frame, like a rolling frame. I looked into it. I need a 1/5 size, a 1/5 scale. It's going to be a big car. This is a 1/10, I believe. So it's going to be pretty big. 1/8 maybe even. So, or not 1/8. I think this is a 1/10. I was looking for a 1/8 or a 1/5. That makes sense. So let's see what we got going on. I'll take you through some of the machining and some of the build, and then we'll talk about it after the first test run. Well, here we go. Here's the cylinder. Like me or not, you can't say that I don't show my work. I've noticed that a lot of other guys, even if they're on YouTube or social media, they ain't showing their work very much. I have no problem with it. I stand behind it, and I'm proud of it. So I'll show you guys my work all the time. I bet I've shown 100 cylinders. But either way, I would not port a saw like this if it was for a work saw. I just want to be real clear on that. So don't see any of this and then think, oh, this is, because I was pretty known for 200s when I was still doing them. I don't want you guys to see this and think that that's what you should do to your 200. This is for an RC car that does not need torque. It basically, I'm going after high end and flow. That's why I have the transfers completely gutted. And I have done this before. It doesn't really, on a work saw, I wouldn't go about it this way, put it that way. And then the intake, I leave those roughed up. Well, I shouldn't say I leave them roughed up. I rough them up on purpose. And then we got the top machined. So the head, the 2-piece head, we've already seen that. I have this spacer on the intake because I want to try to run an 044 carb on it. My theory with that is that it's going to be able to take in more air. You can richen a carb up as much as you want. You could even take out the set screws for adjusting the carb and shave them down. I've done that too. You can open up, main jets and all that stuff. You can get into putting more fuel to it. But if your carb is only this big, the Venturi is only that big, and where's so here's a 440 carb. I mean, we are quite a bit bigger. So in taking in more air, obviously you're going to get more power, but I'm hoping that it helps it run cooler. That's why I have the exhaust so open. I would not do this on a work saw. That's a huge exhaust. I mean, that's gigantic. But I'm running a pipe, and I'm trying to keep air moving through this thing. With that said, I don't know if it's going to run that well, but I probably won't have time to run it. If it doesn't run that well, you're going to see it anyway, because I won't have time to address it. I got other stuff I got to get done. But there we go. There's the cylinder. I do the tonsiled intake. And let's button this thing up, see if it runs. So here's some of the stuff that a lot of people probably don't think of in these projects, that this stuff takes time. So I gotta start by machining a head for this. I got the top cut off of the cylinder. That's pretty simple. And now I got my dial indicator riding on the right 50-50 on like where the cylinder lining is. It's, you know, they're not sleeved, so it's not the cylinder sleeve. But when I run my piston up and down now, it's going to tell me how much I have above. And that way I know what measurement to start off of when I do cut the head. And it's running to about 19 thou, we'll call it 20 thou. That gives me a place to start. There's a lot of measuring with this. You know, even being a self-taught guy on the lathe, measuring, you know, to center, to chuck everything up, you can't just be taking stuff off, testing it, putting it back on, take it off, test it, put it back on. It don't work like that. You got to get the damn thing close or right on if you can. And there's a lot to it. You know, I'm self-taught, but it doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. I think I stole this trick from Rich, but I'm not sure if this was what he was actually doing. But hey, I'll take it. It ended up working really good. I was only just a touch off, and setting it back up and, you know, chucking it back up one time to finish it off, shit, that's no big deal. I'll do that any day. It's the screwing around, taking a job that could take 45 minutes and turning it into 45 days, it seems like. I ain't all about that anymore. So let's get a piece of aluminum stock and cut the head. Here's the work on the two-piece head. Just cut it out of a solid aluminum stock. And to cut the threads for the spark plug, I do use my live center. It tends to work really good. You know, like I said, ignorance is bliss sometimes. I was self-taught. Sometimes I probably do stuff the wrong way, but it works good. And I've heard people say, oh, you can't do it like that. I'm like, are you sure? It works pretty damn good for me. So, you know, obviously a lot of scrap on this one because I haven't made a head for a smaller, you know, 200T is a pretty small cylinder. So I have a bunch of aluminum confetti if anybody's interested. But big thanks to Rich for helping me out with some pointers on how to build these heads. If it wasn't for him, I'd probably still be struggling with them. And there you go. You know, for a self-taught machinist, you're about to see right here. Not too shabby. I make fun of the high-level machinists all the time, but you guys know it's just because I'm jealous. Not too shabby for a self-taught guy, huh? Check that out. I'll take that any day. I don't only tell you guys to do pressure back tests to hear myself talk, so it's very important. I do them on everything, especially a build like this, just a, you know, build I made from parts laying around from scratch, and she's holding good. We're good to go. And one thing that is different, well, not one thing, a lot of things are different, but this is something that is going to save space. I'm using the bar oil tank as a fuel tank now. That's why I have that yellow line sticking out of there. So that means you got to test the new fuel tank. And on a system like this, you want to see that it's venting and also basically checking for that it's holding pressure, not leaking. So I'll put it on pressure, pump it up, and you're going to tell right away if it's holding or not. And you don't want to pump it up crazy and blow something out. Then to check your tank vent, you want to put it on vacuum and make sure that it's dropping down, you know, not that your vent isn't working and you're sealed off. So we're good to go there. Now, since I'm not using the bar oil or the pump, anything like that, I want to still use the pump as a spacer. So I got my ass kicked for about a good 20 minutes here trying to get this pump pulled apart. I just wanted to pull the gear out of it. That way I can bolt the pump to the saw, run the worm gear in it, and holy hell, I've knocked pumps apart before, but Jesus, get that pin out of there and get the gears out of it, unbelievably ridiculous. So, yeah, that little guy right there, oh yeah, I actually ate it because I was so mad. I ate it. But what a pain. Now, I think, you know, I was thinking in my head, like, should I use the pump to pump fuel? Like, I would need extra fuel or something. I'm like, sometimes I think of the dumbest shit. Sometimes it ends up being a good idea, but it's like, what the hell was I thinking? But so if you didn't want to use your bar oil for anything, you could use it to pump extra fuel. But there you go. No resistance. You know, clutch drum and clutch, everything's going to spin without, not that it's a lot of resistance, but you burn the pump up too if it's just running with no oil going through it. So now I'm going to figure out how to route this fuel line so it's not getting hit by anything, and basically getting kind of ready to at least test run this thing. I'm pretty excited at this point. And you know, I have no idea how this thing's going to turn out, but check it out. We bolted together, and I'm not going to run it with a servo or nothing on it. So the recoil, since it doesn't have the fuel tank, the recoil is kind of a flimsy deal. It's all plastic. These 200s are all plastic. Great saws though. So I figure out a way to bolt it on there, but it's ready to run. So I did run into an issue, I'll warn you, but we get to see it somewhat run. Well, here we go. I got the exhaust fan on, and it might be a little loud, but hopefully it's loud from this thing running. I have no idea how this is going to go. Man, I don't even hear it trying. Let's spray some fuel down the carb here, see what happens there. Come on, baby. Oh, we got life, boys. I don't have a kill switch wired up, so I think I know what's going on, and I think I need to make a bigger pipe for this. I don't think this pipe is nearly big enough. Okay, so it's just stalling out on the high end. It's getting too much fuel. Well, it runs, but it don't run the best. So I'm pretty sure what's going on. This pipe is too damn small. So when I got this thing, it had a different header on it, but it didn't have the right shape to it, and I tried to bend it. So, you know, I tried to bend it and it broke instantly, is what I'm trying to say. So that sucked. And I got a makeshift. This would be the header, the pipe, and stinger. I kind of thought in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be big enough. And it's not. At top end, the saw runs great and runs up great. But once it gets to top end, it stalls out because it's got nowhere to go. You know, the exhaust has nowhere to go. And it had a ton of unburnt fuel, and it was just not the best. So I am also going to run it with, when I was test running it there, I was running it with a 440 carb. It's not needed. You know, sometimes I have ideas that aren't the best, but at least I got ideas. Now, with the 200 carb, I can run this. This is just a piece off of a handle, chopped it off. Now everything's supported, so I can run that servo. So we're getting there. And now I just need a rolling chassis for the car. The reason I'm not using the fuel tank and trying to save as much room as possible is I want to put it on a 1/8 size, I believe. So I think this is a 1/10. And I've seen one other chainsaw RC car, two of them actually. Well, the one sucked. And the one was pretty decent, but he was on a 1/5, I believe, and that's pretty big. I want to keep it as small as I can. So it'd be a little bit bigger than this, but, you know, even this on here, I mean, that's bottoming out. You can't, like, this car, you can launch this car, and yet, you know, it's not as tough as I'd like it to be and everything, but these things are so crazy. Like, you can launch this freaking thing. I don't even know how, with the bigger batteries, this thing goes like 50 miles an hour. And for my freaking, my boys, that's fast enough. 30 is fast enough. You put the NIMH batteries or whatever, nickel metal hydride instead of the lipo, it's like a 30 mile an hour car, maybe a little more, but it's still, that's pretty fast. So I want to be able to have some fun with this thing. I want to be able to beat that. And a 200T gets up there. Ported 200T with a two-piece head, I'm thinking I could run, 15 grand easy, you know? But cooling is going to might be an issue. I have a pretty crazy idea for that. So we'll have to see how this thing turns out. Let me clear this stuff off, and I'll show you something really cool that's not involved in this project, or doesn't pertain to this project, but it is cool nonetheless. And it's a project that I've been really excited for. The torch is up on the bench. This goddamn thing is always on fire. Always on fire. And I even had a fire on this thing when I wasn't running it. No joke. I'm not lying. I made my own contact switch for the bar oil dump. Like, here's a 84. This is for dumping extra bar oil. I made it into a NOS switch, but I didn't use an actual switch at first. Now I have an actual switch in there, and it let off a spark while I was testing the system, and everything started on fire. And man, like I said, nitrous, you're not going to have fires all the time. The wet shot saw, always on fire. All the time. But anyway, what's in here is really going to help that. And this will be in a different video because obviously this isn't the video for it, but check that out. If you know what that is, well then you know it's reeds. If you don't know what it is, you probably do now because I just told you it's reeds. All right, this isn't going well. But yeah, this goes in here. Basically a one-way valve. A bolt to that, and then it came with this piece, which ain't right. I ordered 2 sets. Well, I ordered 3 sets. 2 got here. Both were different. Or not different, but not what they were supposed to be. But they're super cheap. I want to say this was like $20, the whole thing. This is like $15. And then I'm gonna have to open this way up, obviously. But I'll have to take another cylinder down like this, and because I have a crazy plan for this one, really crazy. And so I'll probably do it to this guy here, and then attach this reed block to it. And then this will all bolt to that. Run a different carburetor, I'm sure. So there we go. And then that way, the fire hopefully won't be able to come back out at my face. This isn't going to work. I don't want to go off to the side. So there's a whole world of motorized bicycles, they call them. What the hell's a motorized bicycle? I actually don't know the question to that. It wasn't rhetorical. I don't know, but apparently there's a huge world for these motorized bikes. They're 2-strokes, and you can get a lot of parts for them. So if you're looking for parts for a crazy saw, look into the motorized bike world. Pretty crazy. All right, guys. The RC 200T and the torch. Stay rowdy, my friends. We'll see you next time. This is the raddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Really?